And in today's edition of Ratchet Spanner Making Noise, but you can't actually see anything. That is loud, man. Right guys, so welcome back to another video. We're back with some more 335i content today. We're going to be doing the first mods to the car. Luckily it's been running all right, so I don't mind putting mods on it because otherwise it's more of a fixing situation rather than improving it. But yeah, we're going to be installing a set of downpipes, an intercooler, and then hopefully mapping the car towards the end. But without further ado, I'll show you all the bits I've got. We'll make a start. Okay, so car's lifted up, ready to go. We've got all the parts here laid out on the table. We'll begin on this side with the downpipes. So these are from Evolve Automotive. These are their own brand downpipes. They are catless. Very nice fitment. There's obviously two of them because the N54 is twin turbocharged. I've gone ahead and got some replacement V-band clamps from the dealership and the gaskets as well that seat in between the downpipes and the turbocharger. And over here we've got an intercooler from the guys at CSF Radiators. If you're into your tuning, especially on the BMW side of things, you'll definitely know about CSF. It's a bar and plate design. It's also stepped, as you can see. Very high quality product. Now this thing will suit your needs, whether it's stage 1 plus you're going for, right up to stage 3 with operated turbochargers. And it also comes with replacement C-clamps and screws, so you don't have to worry about breaking the ones that are currently on your car. Now we'll have links to both the downpipes and the intercooler in the description if you'd like to replicate my setup. We'll begin with the intercooler first, reason being downpipes on a right and drive car are a bit more of an evolving job. I'm likely gonna have to drop the sub. Here we are underneath the car. As you can see, the under tray is still off like in the previous video, so there's one less thing for us to do. The intercooler is right here at the front. I'll show you what you need to remove. We've got the T25 screws here. You've got a C-clamp holding the pipes onto the intercooler, and you've also got these quick release connections that you need to undo. So I decided to just bring out the flathead instead. And there we go. The quick release connector. Right, so a little comparison between both intercoolers. As you can see, one's clearly very dirty and a lot smaller. But yeah, on the original one, you've got plastic end fittings. It's also a tube and fin style intercooler as opposed to a bar and plate. Luckily, they have kept the C-clamp system very similar, so you can use the factory boost pipes. Now, whilst the OEM one was quite easy to remove, the only issue I can see so far is the CSF one weighs quite a bit more. So trying to line it up now is going to be a bit difficult, but we'll give it a go. Okay, so I've had this ingenious solution to use the floor jack. That sounded reassuring, so I did that. Right, so it's the next day. Reason being, I identified a little problem with lining the intercooler back up properly. Then we ran out of light, so I thought I'd just catch up today in the morning. So what it is essentially is these two pieces of plastic here. They're basically touching the intercooler when it's all lined up. You can sort of get it 90% there, and it looks like it's gonna basically go in. But yeah, to get it properly done, it was going to involve me breaking quite a few things, I'll be honest. So I'll take the front bumper off, and yeah, we'll trim those down. So here's a little surprise. We've got a nail pretty much sideways into the tread there. Yeah, bumper's loose. I'm just going to cut it straight off here with a Dremel. Hopefully the disc doesn't explode. And yeah, eye protection, of course, folks. Yeah, that didn't last long. Yeah, this thing's pretty sharp. Okay, so I did this little bit here manually. Thought, let me just have a look in the shed if I've got any better cutting discs. Turns out I have. This one's designed for cutting metal, so it should do the job. It won't break. It's this little piece of plastic that prevents it lining up with the studs on the left side. It sort of pushes it outwards. So yeah, the rest of it will fit fine. Just cut the front and that there. And there we have it. Dremel the edge bit there. And see if the intercooler goes in now. It's ironic that I thought this job would take only about 20-30 minutes, but yeah, we are finally there, folks. We've got it all lined up with the studs as well. Right, so now that the intercooler is officially done and I've got written off hands, they're a bit of a state. I'm going to turn the car on, let it warm up for a bit. Then I'm going to give it a few revs just to check for any boost leaks, and then we'll go from there. Now that we're done with the intercooler, we can move on to the downpipes. But for this part, we are going to head over to my mate's unit. So it's a bit of deja vu from the GTI video. Filming a subframe, dropping all these things on the floor is a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, let's get cracking. I've got to put this thing back together before I go over there though. Right, so we made it to the unit. As you can see, I got a new piece of equipment. I've had to buy it just for the video. It's an engine support brace. Essentially what it is, it stops the engine falling through once you drop the subframe. You basically put the towing eye into this threaded hole on the right hand side of the engine cover. Yeah, you prop it up, it takes 500 kilos, it should do the job hopefully, or it might get a bit messy later, we'll find out. I've already gone ahead and taken off the scuttle panel, the engine cover, because obviously we've got the oxygen sensors and all this stuff over here. Now, I don't want this to be a strict DIY for downpipes, reason being, again, it's N54, so I am learning as I go along. Now, as far as I've been told, I need to undo these engine mount bolts first. So there's one there and there's one on that side. You can sort of see it just through there. It's a bit hard to get the camera in some of these angles, but I believe it's a 16mm. Yep, that's undone. As with anything N54, first step is disassembling the whole engine. There we go. It's not even that tight. And next, the O2 sensors. The front one has a black wire and the rear one has a light grey one. There we go. Right, so let's lift the car up and see what we've got underneath. Here's the downpipes, as you can see. Yeah, they kind of just disappear into there. Now, the main issue with a right-hand drive vehicle is obviously the steering column is on the right-hand side, the same side that the downpipes are on. So the access is a bit more limited. Now, obviously, here's the subframe. We want to drop this slightly. We've got a bunch of 18mm bolts, but before we do that, we have got a few things to remove. We have got a bit of an oil leak here, as you can see. I'm guessing it's the oil pan gasket. Yeah, we'll probably try and stick to one task today. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this cross brace. It's held in with, I believe, 16mm bolts. So this one's normally covered by parts of this arch liner trim that goes across to the bottom bit here. Okay, holding that with one hand isn't that ideal, but there we go. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is detach the steering rack from the subframe. So it's held in with these E-Torx bolts. There's two of them. It's an E12, so obviously going to put a socket on this side, but on the other end there's a 16mm nut. I'm going to use a flexi head spanner for this. Makes the job a lot easier. Now, in theory, the steering rack should be free now. Yeah, that's detached. Next, I want to disconnect the anti-roll bar. You've got the end links here, so I believe it's a 16mm spanner on one side and 17 on the other. End links, one out. Did loosen them a bit before, so it might take a bit of effort. Remove the headlight level sensor out the way, don't want to break that. And next we'll remove these arms. Right, so on this side I've got the bolt about 90% out, let's say, but obviously it's hitting into this, so I don't really want to force it. When the subframe lowers, I'll quickly remove it then. But we're going to move on to these engine mount E-Torxes here. I believe it's an E12 as well. Now I've got a bunch of stuff detached now, so we are definitely heading in the right direction. I've had no kind of issues so far with any of the bolts. They're generally quite rust free as well, considering this thing is a 2006 car. I think it helps that it has that quite big under tray. Yeah, the plan is not to entirely remove the subframe. I'm going to lower it to an extent where we can get access to the downpipes. So we're going to use one of these stands to support the subframe once it starts dropping. I did just try and loosen them with the bar and they were coming off. So yeah, they're all 18mm. There's two at the back like this. There's one up here. That's a long one. Yeah, you can see the subframe just shifted then. Right, so to give you an idea of the V-bands, we're here in the driver's wheel arch. Now, you can see the downpipes through there. There's one, that's the front one. It's a 13mm. And then the rear one, I kind of just lost it there for a second, but there it is, just through that gap. So it's definitely a bit of a nightmare of a job. You can see why dropping the subframe makes it easier, but then you do want to time it in with other jobs that you're going to do. Probably not like how I'm doing it. And in today's edition of Ratchet Spanner Making Noise, but you can't actually see anything, we have a N54 V-band getting loose. So I'd zoom right in so you can see. Now, where the main issues arise is these bolts here that hold the downpipes onto the rest of the exhaust. There's not really any thread there anymore. That one is like half the size of that one, so looks to me like that's going to be a cutting exercise. So the grinder is going to have to come out. Now this top one looks like it still has some sort of a thread, so freed one. There we go. Now all there is holding the downpipe on is this little bracket here. There's a 12mm nut on it. Ratchet spanner should undo. This O2 sensor is for this downpipe, so there we go. I have put a bit of white tape on each side so I remember which one's which. Okay, did that without causing any serious injury. Gasket's in a perfect condition. O2 sensor socket. You can use a spanner if you want, but I thought a £10 set off Amazon will do the job a bit easier. Saying that, so you know I'm gonna even get this in here. Oh, there we go. I say nice and easy, but that wasn't really. O2 sensor out. N54 downpipe number 1 out. Some sort of success. Even though one downpipe's out, we still got another one. I've just taken the O2 sensor out directly, obviously the rear one over here. Can't pull this out, but I have a feeling it's gonna snap. Seems to have wedged itself into quite a strange place. Right, so we've got both downpipes on the floor finally. The Evolve ones and the OEM ones with the cats still in place. These are primary cats. The car still has secondary ones still in the car. And yes, I am using a very long screwdriver as a pointing tool, but here we are. I'm going to swap over this O2 sensor to the catless downpipe, and the other ones are still attached to the car. So in terms of putting the downpipes back in, it's the opposite of what you saw before. This is the rear one. The kit does come with replacement gaskets for over here where it attaches to the rest of the exhaust. This one, of course, seats over here. So definitely is going to look pretty good when it's done. Now, in the interest of time, because this car has been up in the air so long, mate of mine's going to give me a hand and we're just going to knock this job out quickly. Right, so sometime later, well, the next day, in fact, the downpipes are officially in. Now, in terms of some pointers, if you want to tackle this yourself, keep the V-bands on the turbocharger before you begin trying to line up the downpipe. Then obviously try and somehow through that gap get them on. This side had to be kind of forced in as well with a bit of a pry bar to get them to line up nice, but these Evolve downpipes are pretty sound. Now, as you can see, the subframe is pretty close there, reason being it's obviously detached, so it's going to go back a fair bit. Now, another pointer is this engine brace. Now, we had to slacken it off slightly so the engine moved back into its original place because the downpipe wasn't seating perfectly back onto the turbo. I've got a little photo of it. Basically couldn't get the V-band over it. It was a bit loose at the top. Once we did that, yeah, it all went on pretty sound. Plan now is to get the subframe back lined up. Yeah, you've seen how it comes off, so it's going to be a reverse of that. Definitely quite loud for a car with the stock catback still in place, but yeah, we are going to map the car now with MHD. I'm going to use one of their off-the-shelf maps, but I have got myself in a bit of a weird situation now because this install took so long. At the start there was plenty of fuel in the country, in the UK obviously, and now we've got a bit of a fuel shortage and I can't find 99 RON anywhere. It's a bit of a strange one. There's loads of people panic buying, but here we are. I'm going to probably map it for 95 RON, so it's going to be ideal. And then we'll take it for a quick drive around the block or something. Now, there is one other interesting thing I want to show you folks. If this thing actually turns on. You'll notice there is no engine light. For those of you who are unaware, normally when you fit catless downpipes like I did, you usually get a check engine light until you map it out. See, I think it might have a stage 1 on it. Now, I haven't got a battery tender, so I've just hooked it up to the GTI and I'm gonna leave that running whilst we tune the car. Ignition's on. I've got the app here, so it's MHD flasher, the N54 variant. You can do a bunch of stuff. You can read the codes as well, so we'll just check if there's any errors. It says none, but I don't really believe that for now. I'm sure some will come up once we start driving. Right, let's go into V9 maps. You can see all the different selections here, so I can go straight to stage 2 plus. Now, because I mentioned we have got low quality fuel here in the UK at the minute, I'm going to go for 91 octane, which is the equivalent of 95 RON in the UK. Not ideal, and I never really run 95 RON in my car, but the current situation is quite unusual. So it says connected, communicate with DME. So the flash has begun. It's already done about 12%. It says there's about 20 minutes left. Let's see how it goes. It says a big success there. So yeah, let's head out on the road. All right, so we're just driving around locally. I've got 50 miles of range and a stage 2 plus 335i, so those two things don't really combine, but Yeah, I just went past the local Shell and there's nothing there at all, not even 95 run. It's just nice that there's no creaks coming from the car or any funny noises, so at least the subframe has been put on back together. Oh, look at that. What's that? That was nice. GT3 Touring. Now, I know some of you folks are going to be commenting on the lack of an operated charge pipe on this thing and the fact that I'm using stock Bosch plugs. I have got the operated NGK ones. I went for one step colder. They're at home, but yeah, I'm not going to be pushing the car to its limits in this drive, so it'll all be fine. And yeah, if the charge pipe blows up, it blows up, man. It's been a long video. Got a little bridge here. That is loud, man. Floor it here. Oh, it's stronger. It is definitely stronger. Okay, so much turbo whistling. Yeah, that wastegate rattle though. Now, perfect running N54 on Stage 2 Plus, I believe they're around low 400s. That's what I see most of the UK guys getting. And yeah, whatever this is making, maybe mid to high 3s. I don't know, to be fair. It's definitely quick. Personally, I don't think it's a full fat Stage 2 Plus. Reason being, we're on 95 run and the car's probably not perfectly healthy. There's a bit of wastegate rattle. Another bridge. Same bridge as last video. We have got a rattle now. Yeah, proper car. Right, so I just pulled into a car park just to have a quick look at my logs. Saying the IATs are 37 degrees C after that little blast, so pretty good. The old intercooler was on well over 40 even after just like 2-3 pulls. So the CSF definitely works. Obviously the conditions are a bit different when a Stage 2 Plus files, so there's a lot of different parameters. But for the most part, yeah, definitely the car is a lot more cooler than it was before. But yeah, folks, we'll end the video here. I don't want to push my luck any further. There's around 30 miles of range in the car, and when the UK has a bit more 99 run in stock, we'll do a proper video with some operated spark plugs, charge pipe, and a lot of the other tune on. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like, and yeah, subscribe for a lot more content to come, and I'll see you in the next one.